Hey everyone, welcome to the Derick Leg podcast. We're back again, another week in a row, keeping the streak going. This week we've got Kade Beynon with us. How's it going, Kade?
What's up, man?
I was glad to have you. I'm glad you came all the way from Texas just to sit down with us for an hour or two.
Lubbock, Texas.
Love it. Is everything bigger in Texas?
Probably, I'd say yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like a different country, man.
I don't think people realize how big the state is.
Yeah, three
It's
different
massive.
time zones. It's massive.
3 different time zones.
Yes.
That's massive.
Yeah, and I lived in El Paso, and now I'm in Lubbock, and it's wild.
That's
but I love
great.
it.
Yeah.
Coming back here, I realized there's it's 15 degrees hotter here on average. I'm like, oh, I don't miss this.
Well, is it humid down there where you're at?
It's a little humid, but
Okay.
I can't really feel it. I mean, it's mostly because we've just been getting a lot of rain.
Sure.
And I'm not used to that either.
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember us getting a lot of rain here.
No, it's for like 2 weeks straight and
Yeah.
then nothing.
And we've had like nothing but rain except for like the last 2 weeks down there.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've had flash floods the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that and I was like, whoa. But like greenery, I'll be driving around like, oh, that must be a golf course. Nope, that's just regular Texas ground, just green.
Just field grass everywhere.
Yes, not used to that. That's cool.
Yeah, the desert versus that.
Yes.
So I think we can touch on a lot of things today. I know you've got a pretty diverse
Yeah.
background and history, if we can put it that way.
Yes.
You were military,
Mm-hmm.
served some military service. You have some background with some bike groups. Is that what you
Yes.
call it? Bike groups?
Yeah.
I mean, Sons of Anarchy biker
No,
gangs. That's not
no.
what you call it, right?
No, we don't say that. That could get me in trouble.
I just think that's how everyone views like
Yeah.
a group of bikers,
I
right?
actually touch on that.
Okay.
Because Sons of Anarchy kind of plays to our advantage, actually. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, born and raised in Washington, Dogtown, 32 years old, 5 kids, been married and divorced, remarried. I graduated with you 07,
Yep.
I think.
Pine View 07.
And I always knew of you, but I don't know. I never, for some reason, we never gravitated that
You
much.
grew up like down the street from me.
Probably.
On
I was
300,
yeah,
right?
I was in 300
yeah.
East.
Yeah, you're like 3 blocks from me.
Wow.
That's funny. But yeah, I always knew who you were too. Big
Yeah.
wrestler in high school.
No issues with you.
No, of course
Everything was
not.
good, but somehow we never got super tight. But
Yeah.
yeah, I grew up there. I wrestled. I didn't like wrestling. I was not interested in wrestling. My little brother actually did wrestling, and when I was in 8th grade, I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to get in tights and roll around with other dudes, because that was like the normal middle schooler mentality.
Sure.
Like, no. And then I went to like a tournament of his, and I saw him do it, and I was like, whoa, that's actually really cool. So I went out my freshman year, and I just got manhandled. Didn't win. I think I won 1 match my whole year. Sophomore, junior year was like a 50-50, and then I went to some camps, and then I ended up, I think I had like 5 or 6 losses my senior year.
How many how many matches are there in a year?
I mean, the more you win, the more matches you'll
Okay.
end up having. So it was like 52
Wow.
wins and 5 or 6 losses.
Yeah, 'cause you were always big guy.
I was a big guy.
Yeah.
Never played football.
Right.
And yeah, I kind of wish I would have, but yeah, I was just into the wrestling thing, and I came out for cross country my senior year simply to help me with wrestling,
Okay.
and that helped me tremendously. But yeah, did the wrestling thing, graduated. I was also into art. I was a big art.
I remember that.
After wrestling practice, I'd head over to the art studio,
Yeah.
and I'd be playing with clay or painting or drawing. I ended up getting like a perfect score on my art portfolio that year. What else? Worked. I worked since I was like 12.
Sure. All of us Dogtowners
Yeah.
did, dude.
Yes. And so, I don't know, I graduated high school, immediately moved out of the house, immediately got married. I think we graduated in May. July I was married.
Okay.
Moved into a trailer in Ivins. And then about a year after that, we found out we were pregnant. And at the time I was a CNA working at our rehabilitation center. And like a month after my daughter was born, they let me go because the economy was going down. And I was at a rehabilitation center, like people were going there to rehabilitate from like nip tuck surgeries, stuff like that. Like it wasn't critical, like they had to do it.
With like torn ACL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this surgery. I'm going to wait till this economic recession's over. And I was one of the newer guys.
We're talking like 08, 09.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got let go and I didn't know what to do. I just had a kid. I was like, I'm going to join the Army. So I went to the recruiter's office. I was like, sign me up. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be an MP. And he's like, we don't have any MP slots open. You could come back in a month or two. I was like, no, I need to sign up like today. Can I be a medic? And he's like, sure. So signed up as a medic. A month or two later, I was going to basic training in Fort Benning, it's Georgia. Yeah. And then that was wild because, I mean, I hadn't really been out of St. George. Ever.
Yeah.
I think I visited family in Massachusetts once, and then here I am living in Georgia, and there's like little trees growing on windowsills and stuff because it's so humid. I'm like, this is wild. Everything's dead in St. George compared to being there. So that went well. And then went to AIT, San Antonio, became a medic. That was awesome. San Antonio was awesome. Thought about moving to San Antonio for a while because it was really cool. Did the whole medic school thing. Came down on orders to go to Germany. So the Army packed up the family. We moved to Germany. That was really cool. I'm like, man, how many people do I know that have been to Germany already?
Right.
You know? And like the people were awesome. And I was expecting like no one's going to know how to speak English, you know? But everyone like our age or younger spoke perfect English.
Really?
Because they like teach it in the schools. So it's like no issues communicating with anyone over there while I was there. It was awesome. And then I deployed while I was over there and went to Afghanistan. I got shrapnel in my arm from a negligent discharge. That was crazy. The dude was the other soldier was taking off his gear inside of our armored vehicle, and he forgot to take his weapon off. I don't even know why it was on fire. It should have been on safe, but
Sure.
he never took it off fire. And he was trying to take his gear off with his weapon in his hand and fired. So the bullet hit the bottom of the armored vehicle and just disintegrated. And I got peppered. And I hopped off the vehicle because at the time there was stories of them sticking like magnetized bombs to the back of the vehicles. And it went off and it was a tracer round. So like there's a flash and a bang. Could have been a grenade. I don't know.
In the
Or a bomb.
moment.
Yeah. So I jumped off. I was like, whoa. And everyone looked at me and they're like, Doc, you had a negligent discharge. And I looked at my gun, still unsafe, dust covers closed. I'm like, no, because I just cleared my weapon too. I look up at that guy and dust covers open. He's got, smoke coming off his barrel. He's got a double feed up in his chamber. Like, oh, dude.
This is like a 223 round?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
And so like, I'm like bleeding out of my chest because there's a decent fragment that went in there. And so they like rushed me to the aid station and I'm getting x-rayed and the doctor, like I got a broken bone in my hand and I don't know what happened. But like the doc comes out, I'm like bleeding out and he's like, hey, your hand was broke? It just healed funny. I'm like, cool story, doc. What about my chest?
Am
like,
I gonna live?
Right? And he was just so intrigued that I had this crazy bone. I mean, because I had shrapnel in my finger, so he took an x-ray of everything. And I'm like, dude, like, cool story, but what about my chest?
He's like, oh shit, you'll be fine. Have you seen your hand?
Yeah. It's crazy. But like when that happened, because we had gone from our fob to like a resupply fob and we got out and we were clearing our weapons when all this happened. Well, in that short amount of time, word had already got back to our fob that like we were in this crazy firefight and I was shot and killed in action. And so they like went black on comms because they were worried that word would have got back to my wife in Germany that I died in combat. And that's like the worst way for a spouse to find out. They want to make it official. So as soon as I was done with the doc, they'd send me to the Morale and Welfare Center to call my wife in Germany and let her know that, hey, just so you know, I'm alive. So I did that. And she's like, what the hell are you talking about? Why are you calling me and telling me this? That was crazy. There was a couple firefights, but I never engaged anyone. I felt like my whole deployment was pretty chill, honestly. We were in Ghazni for like 6 months, Kabul for 6 months, super chill. There was a couple firefights. I was with infantry guys, but they didn't let me like shoot.
Well,
like
that's what I was going to ask. Like you being the medic, does that kind of
they're like,
put
no. Like they pushed me down in a hole behind a Connex. Like you stay there. I was like, no. Like I wanted to kind of, I don't know. I wasn't hungry to like shoot people, but I was willing to if it ever came about, and they're always like pushing me to the side, like, no. But where we stayed on our base was right next to an Air Force FST, a Ford Surgical Team. And so, like, if anyone got messed up around the area, they'd send the chopper to go pick them up and bring them back. So they'd be flying out, and I was like, hey, platoon sergeant, like, they're coming in with casualties. Can I go help, get my hands dirty, you know? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So I go over there. First couple times with the Air Force, they're like, why is this guy here, you know? And then after a bit, like, and they'd have me like do like the details they didn't want to do. Like I was mopping up blood in the operating room because no one else wanted to do that. So that was my job. And then I got to the point where we'd have guys come in and they'd let me start the IVs. And I sewed a dude's thumb back together, like the tendon. Like
bananas.
Like an Afghan soldier dude was jacked up, and they brought him in, and I got to sew his thumb back together.
They were like, you sew him back together. We'll take care of the Americans.
I had a doctor telling me, like, he was guiding me through, like, all right, you take your thread and you'll go through like this. I'm like, I'm sewing this dude's thumb back together. Like they taught us some cool stuff in medic school, but we didn't cover thumbs being sewn back together. It was crazy. And then we had a mass cal. That was very interesting.
What's that?
I mean, you stub your toe, you're considered a casualty.
Okay.
You get shot or blown up, you're still a casualty. So it's a mass number of people were hurt. And there's like this little cop. So it was smaller than a fob, right? It was just like 100, 200 people on this thing. And it had been rocketed, and they drove a V-bid through the front door at the same time. And there was like 100 and some casualties from that incident.
Dang.
And there's like no one left. And the Air Force sent in some PJs. Do you know what a PJ is?
I don't.
They're like the Air Force. Man, they're so cool. I get chills thinking about it. I'm geeking out over the Air Force guys here. We might have to edit this out. But the PJs, they're medics, but they're like, I don't know how to explain it. They're like SF, but not.
Okay.
And so like they'd fly over and drop down on where it all happened, and they're engaging with the enemy while they're rendering aid to these guys and loading them up to bring them back to us. I'm like, that's so cool. So they sent off like 30 to another surgical team, 30 to Bagram, and sent several. I can't remember if it was like 30, 40, or 50 to us because it all just kind of blurred together. But they sent a bunch to us, and it was cool because we were only set up for like 5 casualties at a time. And not everyone was like critical, but everyone needed to be seen. And it was towards the end of the day. And when that happened, like the whole fob like came together. Like the contractors like building stuff, the American guys that were like building stuff, everyone just like stopped what they're doing. Sorry. And they like came together and like turning on like these huge construction lights for us and stuff. So we're not working in the dark. Like everyone just started going and donating blood so that we'd have blood to give. Like it was cool. Like how it all just came together. There was no like, hey, we need help. Like, no, people just knew,
lined up,
and just came together. It was so cool. So that was one of my more interesting like Army stories, I guess. So I come back from Afghanistan. A few months later, we get orders to go to Korea. So like Germany, now Korea, just overseas to overseas. So we go to Korea. And I was in an infantry unit in Germany. Go to Korea, I was in a medical unit then.
Okay.
Totally different mindsets.
Sure.
Like the infantry is very Marine-esque, I would say. Like, kill the enemy, you know, God loves the infantry.
Yeah.
And then the medics, you know, we're just like, hey guys, how's it going? What do you want to do today? Like totally different vibe, right? So I'm over there in Korea, and I was in an ambulance unit. So like we were basically in charge of bringing casualties from one section of Korea to the next if anything happened, because it's always like anything could happen any moment. And that was really cool. Got to do a lot of cool medical stuff there.
How long were you there?
I was there for 2 years.
Okay.
I was in Germany for 2 years, but a year of that was in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Again, the people were awesome. I had a little Dodge Dakota pickup truck. And when I got orders to go to Korea, I sold my truck because I'm like, man, there must be running around little rickshaw carts and stuff. Like, I'll kill people in my truck. I can't have that there. So I sold it, and I get off the plane in Seoul, and it's like Vegas. Like, it's a massive city doing well. I don't know why. I was so close-minded. Like, I thought it was like a
streets. And
I thought it was like a third world country. No, it's popping there. Like, they're doing good.
I think we get that as Americans. We think like everywhere that's not America is like this clay
like,
buildings, mud.
Yeah, it was totally not that way. Like, they're like an economic powerhouse, like Hyundai.
Yeah,
made in South Korea, and it's basically a city that manufactures those cars. Like, it's inside. There's like cloud. Like, they've got their own like weather and stuff going on in the facility. It's so huge. But yeah, I love Korea. Both places, I was like, man, I could get out and stay here. I loved it. Food was awesome. I'm always talking about food. I love the food.
Me too.
So we were there for 2 years. I had my second child in Korea, so she was actually born there. They offered up like, hey, do you want to do dual citizenship for your daughter? I was like, no, I don't.
You're like, we're already American.
Yeah. Because like the men that are born there, you have to do, I think 2 or 3 years in the military there.
Okay.
So you can either, after high school, go to college and then do your military service, or do your military service first and then go to college. And I was like, man, I don't know what it's going to be like when she's older. You know, if she has dual citizenship, are they going to make her like go over and do military time?
Like, I don't know the qualifications of that.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. So no, I'm not going to do that. And then 2 years there, went to Fort Bliss after that, in El Paso, Texas. And I felt like that's kind of where things just kind of started to fall apart. Like our marriage. I mean, we just went to Germany, to Korea, and then we're in Texas. She'd been away from her family the whole time.
And she's from here?
She's from Hurricane.
St. George?
Yeah.
Hurricane? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, a lot of issues. And initially at the time, I was like, oh, this is all her fault. She's causing these issues, and we got divorced because of blah, blah, blah. But looking back and like experiencing life, maturing, I'm like, oh, man, I definitely had some major parts to play in the downfall of that marriage, you know. But yeah, we got divorced. She moved back here, and I stayed in Texas. I had to. So yeah, every year, 2 or 3 times a year, I travel back here to get my girls for the summer or spring break or Christmas, and go back. And things are really good between me and my ex-wife.
That's
like
good.
I hear horror stories, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it's not like that between us. Things are good. So I'm very thankful for that. And my oldest is actually moving back to Lubbock with me. So that's part of the trip. That's here. Cool. I get to like help her move her stuff back to
And she's
Lubbock.
how old?
She's 12.
12. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
really excited about that. So while I was there, backtrack a little bit. I've been wanting to ride motorcycles like since I was in high school. And my dad was like, whenever you live in my house, you're not going to ride a motorcycle. And I don't blame him. Like, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I was out of the house, I couldn't afford to buy a motorcycle. And then when I was in the Army, I was in Germany.
Right.
So I couldn't buy a motorcycle. And so I go to Korea, same thing. Couldn't get a motorcycle. So when I came down on orders to Fort Bliss, like within 24 hours of landing, I already had my motorcycle. Like it was my possession.
Okay.
Like I had found it on, I think it was Craigslist. And I'd been messaging the dude like weeks up to our arrival in Vegas. And like I told him like, we have to meet like the day I get here. So we did, and I loved it, and I bought it.
What was it?
I've never even been on a motorcycle before. It was a Kawasaki Vulcan 1500. Oh,
that's a big bike for a first-time rider.
And everyone's like, you should start with like a 650.
Well, I mean, you're a big guy, though.
I'm a big dude.
Yeah.
But I was also like, it's on the throttle. Like, I just take it easy, no issues. So like for 2 weeks, I never went over 40 miles an hour because I was like, it's a big bike.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it easy. And I'm glad I did, because after like a month or two,
yeah,
I was using every bit of that 1500. So that was good.
You're like, do they come bigger?
Yes. I found out they do.
Yeah.
And I got bigger ones. But yeah. So when we were in Fort Bliss, like I bought it here in St. George, and we drove like on leave from Korea. I got my bike here, and then I drove it down to Fort Bliss.
Wow.
So
your first time riding a motorcycle, you went from St. George to Texas?
Yeah. Like, wow. I had it for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then I drove it down.
Cruised it.
Yeah. Like a 14-hour drive.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of summer too. Like, that was hot.
It's like a hair dryer just blowing on you the whole time.
So miserable.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
they look cool.
Yeah, they look cool. They sound good.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of riding. A guy in my unit, he rode too. And we just really meshed well. We became like best buds, like instantly. Started riding, and we were like, man, we should start our own motorcycle club. It'd be so cool. So we of course, me being the artist, I'm like sketching out patch designs and stuff. Like, we're talking about different bylaws we're going to have. And little did we know, like, El Paso was like a motorcycle mecca. Like, it's like motorcycle club and organization. Like, there's like 50 or 60 of them.
Wow.
And so, like, to just think you're going to just start one up on your own is like extremely disrespectful to the existing community. And we didn't know this, but
we gonna learn today.
Yeah, we went to like a local biker bar, and we had met some other guys that were patched members of a organization. And so we're like, maybe we should not do this thing that we're gonna like do on our own. Maybe we should just join like an existing club. I'm like, yeah, it's a good idea. Like, scrap that. That was bad. And then within like a month or two of us joining, he actually died on the motorcycle, drinking and driving.
Dang.
Yeah. He actually ended up colliding with the president of the club at the time. They had both been drinking and driving. They collided, and they both died instantly.
Wow.
And that was like the first loss I'd really had, And for it to be, it wasn't like just some acquaintance or someone I knew of. Like, he was like as close to me as my own blood brother.
Yeah.
We were tight. Like, when I was going through my divorce, I stayed at his house. He was mopping up my tears when I'm going through like an emotional breakdown. Like, we were tight. And then when he died, I was wrecked. And that's actually, this is his memorial. This was our patch design. We're going to do our own thing. And so, yeah, that's his memorial tattoo. So then after that, I decided I was like going to step away from the motorcycle community, because like I didn't know what I was getting into when I got into it. I had like a lot of crazy things going on when I got into it. I needed like a level head. And my buddy was a medic. His wife was a medic. She was working in a clinic, and we were both on the line units, and we were in a cavalry unit. And they were like, hey, we know this girl that works in the clinic that we think we think you guys would click really well. I was like, oh. And so like they introduced us, and like we just hit it off, and I eventually married her. Like, that's my wife now.
Oh, cool.
And like 2-3 weeks after that was when he died. So it was like a crazy time. Like, my wife and kids had just left, started getting tied up in this motorcycle stuff, met my current wife, and then my best friend died, all in a short period. And I was like, dude, I don't even know how I didn't get kicked out of the Army at that time. Because like I was going to work, like probably smelled of alcohol. I had like crazy scruff, and just clean shaven, I was like passing out, sleeping in the storage closet at work. Like, it was bad. I just didn't know how to deal with what was going on. And my wife was like, she really helped me get through all that. And like calling family, calling my mom, my dad, my brother, talking to them about stuff, that really helped. But eventually, now that all happened in 2014. So the next year, 2015, no, it was 2016. I had met a guy, and it was at church, actually. I met him at church, and he had a cut on in the church, and I was like, this is interesting. So I was like, tell me about your motorcycle club. Because I was still riding. Mm-hmm. And he was like, it's not a motorcycle club. It's a 501c3 nonprofit motorcycle organization. I was like, excuse me.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. But it was educational, And so we went to a couple of their meetings that they had and got to learn about what their mission was. And it was Guardians of the Children.
Okay.
So Guardians of the Children, for those that don't know, is a lot like BACA. Bikers Against Child Abuse. Bikers Against Child Abuse actually started here in Utah, interestingly. And I could get this wrong, but I'm not going to go into details. But basically, there were some people that split off and made Guardians of the Children because they felt like they could do what Baca was doing, but maybe a little better.
Okay.
They started in San Antonio, Texas, about 2006, I think. And they had been growing, and they had a chapter there in El Paso. And so we decided to join them. That was really cool. We got to help kids that had been abused. And people are like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, it really depends, case to case, kid by kid. Some kids need different type of support than others, you know. And one thing I forgot to touch on, in that period between moving out of the house and joining the Army, on the side, I was helping my parents with some foster kids. There was like a foster parent association they were both working with.
Okay.
And I was doing like a big brother, big sister mentor position with them. And one of the kids, a couple of them, I got pretty close to. Excuse me. And after I had gone into the military, I found out that the kid I was close with, he actually took his life because of the environment he was living in, the home life. And I don't really know what happened to it as far as investigations or anything. But yeah, that happened. I found out that while I was in Korea. So like there was already this pull to go help kids in some capacity. And so this was like a perfect opportunity for do that while riding a motorcycle. Like that's so cool. You know? And we go help these kids, and you pull up with 20, 30 bikes, and the kid knows like all these people are here for me. Like these are like my uncles and aunts that are here to support me. And that's like so cool for them, you know? And you can just see like their demeanor, their energy changes from like this, like this, I don't know how to explain it. Almost like closed off, shy demeanor to they're like excited about being a kid again, you know, because everyone deserves a childhood. And a lot of these kids, that's taken from them. So that was really cool to be able to help them do that. We stayed with them for a while, actually became chapter president there. And then COVID happened. Man, I'm getting my timelines are all... There's so many different things to discuss. Yeah. But, all right, I'll backtrack a little bit. So while I was in Korea, and you can jump in at any time.
No, I'm
like, I feel like good. I'm taking over. I don't mean to do this.
You are good. It's your story.
So when I was in Korea, my mentality in the Army in general, I don't really know anyone that had committed suicide. And they talked about it in the Army, and I was like, man, if people are talking about committing suicide, like they just need to do it, get it over with, like quit this pity party, this attention grabbing, woe is me thing. And I mean, I wasn't very vocal about it, but that's how I was. That's what I was thinking in my head, you know? And then I found out about that, and that rocked my boat. And I was like, whoa, I don't know how I feel about that. And then I swear, maybe a month later, I found out that my little brother had also joined the Army. He was an MP in the reserves, Jake. And I had found out that he had written a note, and he was going to commit suicide. And I was like, what? Like, what is going on? Like, how could this be happening to not only someone I know, but we grew up in the same house.
Yeah.
And I knew that, like, and I'd imagine, like, people that did it, like, they must have come from, like, some crazy trauma, you know? And I'm like, how could that have happened in our house? Like, I grew up in the same house. Like, I didn't understand it. It didn't compute. And then talking to my mom, I found out it was like, yeah, this happened. And it was actually like 3 weeks, a month ago. I was like, why am I just now finding out? You know, like, I felt like being in the military, I understood that there was resources for him that maybe he didn't even know about, because I'd been in longer. I was full-time. I was full-time in it. He's reserve. I'm like, we can get him help like tomorrow, you know? And I just remember, like, my whole thought process on suicide in general just went through like a complete 180 within a matter of months from each other, with that kid that I knew, and then my own brother. Thank God he didn't go through with it. And there's biological circumstances, there's environmental circumstances, and I think that's a story I'll save for Jake to go through maybe one day on here.
Yeah, we'll bring him on.
But in state, it totally made me realize how ignorant I was to the whole topic.
Dude, I felt the same way. I went through that too.
Yeah.
Even with my own dad, I was like, attention. Like, how do you attempt suicide?
Yeah.
I was like, how do you attempt it? You either do it or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I when you were saying that, I didn't want to stop you, but I was like, dude, I've been there.
Dude,
and until someone kind of feels that and goes through it, it's hard to have that like maturity switch.
Yes.
So I've been there. Totally get it.
It's crazy too, because like, I mean, I wasn't in high school and like had this miraculous philosophical brain change. Like I was well into my 20s, and whoa, that was stupid of me.
Yeah.
Like, and so, yeah, totally changed my outlook on that. And even in my dark spots during my divorce, my friend died. I remember even thinking like, okay, is this like, are these the circumstances leading up to me feeling that way? Like that trying to be self-aware. I'm like, would I kill myself? And I was like, no, I wouldn't. I'm like, okay, good. We're good. We're good. But like having those straight up, like there's been so many times, like now that I've had people close in my life do that or attempt, just be there. I've been a lot more straight up with people in my life. Like my brother, I know he's going through some stuff sometimes. There's been times when he's going through stuff and I'm like, hey man, are you thinking about it? Because that's the best thing to do, just to be straight up.
Yeah.
Instead of like beating around the bush or waiting till then.
How you feeling?
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, have you thought about killing yourself? Just being straight up like that. And that's like, and he's like, it'll either be, yeah, I have actually, or no, man, I'm good. I got this. And I'm like, good. Like, like I want you to know that I'm here for you at whatever capacity, no matter what's going on up there.
And coming from you, he can accept that that way.
And so that's been huge. And I'll just kind of go back to the motorcycle thing. Sorry.
You're good.
There's a lot going on. Actually, yeah. So I was doing the motorcycle thing. Got out of the Army in 2016 after we had joined and didn't really know what I was going to do. I was wanting to stay in, but with my ex-wife moving to Utah, I was like, man, if I stay in, I could end up in Germany or Korea or halfway around, on the other side of I could end up in New York. Trying to get my kids for the summer. If I live in New York, that's going to be difficult.
Good luck.
I was like, I'm just going to get out and we'll move to Utah, be close to my girls. And so we did. Got out, moved back. And when I was moving back, a childhood friend of mine was like, hey man, you're coming back to Utah? I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, I've got this side business. I want you to like come up here and help me make it a full-time thing. And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, what else am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. I was really just wanting to be here for my girls. So if I could do that, that'd be even better. And so it was like building indoor trampoline parks, Ninja Warrior courses, stuff like that. And he was doing like maybe one center a year on the side of his normal job and making pretty good money on it. And so when I got there, we got a little like brick and mortar place to have like an office and have some working space. And on our first job, we outgrew that space like immediately. In fact, I think that was the space. I came by
once, yeah.
Yeah, I had you come over because, man, the stuff we did, you're messing with all different kinds of like building techniques, molds, and I don't know. I thought it was so cool. And I was like, dude, maybe I could make you some guns, some like gun molds for you to do holsters
with. Yeah. We came over and talked.
It didn't really work out, but I was like, I don't know. That whole world of doing stuff was awesome. And he needed me. He didn't need me, but he wanted me for like the artsy portion of it, like doing the designs and helping with the layouts. And when it come time to like do an install, like he knew from growing up, because we actually worked at this. He worked for my family business a little bit growing up too. Like he knew what my work ethic was.
Yeah.
And so it was just like a good match. So, and yeah, like the first year we made like 1.6 mil our first year. It was really good. And we're going all over. We're going to Canada. We were going to Austin, California, East Coast, like all over, doing all kinds of cool stuff. And I was in my element.
Yeah.
was we were messing with foam with a lot of the stuff we did. And it was just like, I mean, I'd done a lot of paper, like 2-dimensional art, but I'd never really gone into the 3-dimensional stuff. And when we did, I was like, yes, this is like for me totally. So that was cool. But things started to fall apart with, I don't know, I guess like our financial philosophies and business owning. The next year we'd changed locations, and we had a bunch of employees, and I don't know what necessarily made him make some of the financial choices he made, because there was just so many resentments building up at that point on both ends of us, that I was just like, you know what, I just dissolved my ownership. Like, I can't be a part of this anymore.
Yeah.
Salvage whatever friendship is left. I don't know how much is really left, but like, I just can't do this. And you know what, that first year, the good money, I mean, we had the big cars, multiple cars, got the big house, everything was good. Yeah, bikes, right? I wish I had more of those. But then when you dissolve my ownership, and I mean, I had, what am I going to fall back onto? Like, I had my EMT certificate from the Army. Ooh, I could go make $9 an hour.
Yeah.
That's not going to pay the bills.
That's a big jump.
Yes. So my wife, I don't know, I still don't know how she did it. She was working like 3 jobs, and she was going to school, and she was in the Army too. So, I mean, the GI Bill was paying out, and I started going to school, and we were getting that payout, and we were basically just preparing to move out of that house because there's no way we could continue to afford the house we were in. So we literally sold everything we had. And before our credit took a nosedive, we went out and we got a fifth wheel camping RV financed. And we told ourselves, like, okay, we're only going to keep whatever we can realistically fit in this fifth wheel. And so we moved into this fifth wheel, sold everything else. And we tried to like sell the house on our own, because usually there's like a higher profit margin, you know. That didn't work out very good. So we end up like going down. I had to borrow my father-in-law's truck to pull this fifth wheel. And I've never even pulled a fifth wheel before. Like, I'd pulled some trailers, but not like a 33-foot fifth wheel, you know, like, whoa. And he was stressing too. I'm like, it's insured, we're good. But I'm pulling this fifth wheel with my father-in-law's truck from here to El Paso.
Wow.
Because we're like, man, we're going to restart. And my ex at the time was like, we're moving to Washington State. We're not even going to live here anymore. So I'm like, well, if my girls aren't here, the business thing totally failed. Like, why am I here? It's so expensive. If I'm going to restart where it's cheap. So I'm going to go to El Paso, you know? So we loaded everything up. We drove down there. We were living in like an RV park. And my wife, she was trying to take it like with the best spirit. Like, oh yeah, we're like, what do they call it? Like tiny living, you know, we're going to make a blog about it. And she's like got this Instagram story, like she's making a thing of like so positive. Meanwhile, in the inside, like I'm dying, like, oh, I'm so stressed. Like, we're living in a fifth wheel. Like, we're one step away from being homeless, you know? And she's just taking it all on. Just
good for her, man.
I'm like, I don't know how she does it, man. But yeah, we got there like New Year's, the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. Got everything set up to go to school there, and like a month later, I get in a motorcycle accident because I sold my motorcycle was my mode of transportation. And we had our biker family from joining before we left the first time, you know, so they were there. So we had like a sense of community and family. And I'd got out of class and I was going to go to my buddy's house. And this Charger like cuts me off, like trying to race me onto this on-ramp. And he I bounced off the side of his car until my wheels hit the curb. And like I went down. I was going like 45, 50 miles an hour, no helmet. I'd go down. And I wake up and I'm in the ER and I'm looking up and I got some big old burly biker guys, you know, they're holding my hands. They're like, buckle up. This is going to be really painful. I'm like, what happened? Like, they're going to sew your ear back on. Why? Because you're in a motorcycle wreck, man. I was like, what? Like, I was out of it. Yeah. I don't know. And they sewed my ear back on. And I was like, they did a pretty good job. But apparently I actually found out a lady at the college I was going to school at the time, her and her fiance witnessed it. because I don't remember even leaving the parking lot. Like that time frame, don't remember nothing.
That's why you say apparently you bounced off
Apparently
the car.
I did.
Yeah.
They said I bounced off the car, and apparently I got up and I was ready to fight. And they're like, "No, your ear's falling off. Like, just lay down." And I was like, "Okay." And I laid back down.
Yes, sir.
It didn't take much convincing, apparently. And then we get to the hospital, and I guess I was with it enough to unlock my phone and hand it to a nurse and be like, "You should call my wife."
Yeah.
And that was that. So that was crazy. I was there for like 3 or 4 days, and I was always telling the nurses, like, I'm trying to escape so I can go smoke. 'Cause I was a smoker for like 12 years, 11 years, something like that. And I don't know. It was a crazy but fun experience. My wife was stressing out hardcore. And then I was recovering we didn't have anywhere else to go. I was in the fifth wheel,
Yeah.
And we had 3 kids with us, 3 little kids at the time, living in a fifth wheel. I'm recovering from a motorcycle wreck in the bed, just full time. I can barely stand up. Like my groin crushed the motorcycle tank in. Like it was crazy. And at the time, her taking care of me, she couldn't really work. She was trying to teach Asian kids how to speak Chinese she's trying to teach them how to speak English.
I figured.
Online.
Like, wow.
Online.
Find these kids.
Yeah, right. And so it was crazy. And we didn't have a washer or dryer, so we're like scrambling for change under the car, like the car seats, to like go wash our clothes. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
And like there was just so many little things that happened. We didn't know I don't think people understood how big of a deal it was to us. Like this neighbor lady, she was like the crazy cat lady in a trailer park. She brought us like this big box and a bag full of food. She wasn't using it. She didn't need it. She just brought it to us. I'm like, we didn't even know we were going to feed our kids that day. And she just brings that over. Like,
wow.
How crazy is that? That was awesome. And so that was going on. That was our financial situation. And it wasn't, are we not going to pay all the bills? We already knew we weren't going to pay any of the bills. It was, which ones are we not going to pay?
Yeah.
So like in a year, we went from like living on cloud 9. I'm a business owner, like money's rolling into, how did we get here? This is crazy. And like we had set up an appointment to file for bankruptcy and foreclose on our house. Because like, what are we going to do? And I get a call from our lawyer, and he's like, "Hey, I got a check for you to come pick up." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah." He pursued the other person's insurance, and we got a settlement. It was like a 6-figure settlement.
Wow.
And so going from where we were at to that was huge.
Yeah, crazy cat lady with food in a box to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like we were able to like pay off mad amounts of debt and like get out of the trailer park and into like a rental house, and like recover financially from all of that, take a breath, go back to school, work our jobs. And that's kind of where we're at now, but further along. And so 2019 comes, 2020, I start applying to law enforcement agencies because I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Like I would love to have my own business doing something of the sort down the line, but I don't know what that looks like. And I really need stability. Like stability was the name of the game. And I was like, the closest thing stability wise I can imagine outside of the Army is doing something in law enforcement. That's what I wanted to do. So I applied to like Denver, Aurora, a couple different agencies in New Mexico, and everything was going good. And then COVID happened. And everyone stopped their hiring processes.
Yeah.
Academies were shut down. Everything shut down. And I was like, no. And I don't know how things were here, but like there was like the food disappearing off the shelves. Like the toilet paper was crazy, but the food disappearing was crazy too. And I'm like, what is going on?
I don't know if that really happened. Toilet paper for sure.
Yeah.
Toilet paper, paper towels,
baby wipes.
Yeah, I think food was pretty much there.
No, we'd go in the store and there'd be like a line of people.
In Texas.
In El Paso specifically. I can't speak on all of Texas. But
all 3 time zones.
Right. And there'd be a line of people trying to get into the store to get food. And then once you actually get in, there's like no meat. Like the whole meat section empty, nothing. You try and go get like flour, rice, beans, anything like that, gone.
Yeah.
Bleach, gone.
There was probably a few weeks it was like that here. Because
Yeah.
I remember my mom talking about it, and I've got a buddy in the food service. He was talking about it.
Yeah.
He's like, do you need any of this? Do you need any of this? And I'm like, dude, I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't eat that much. And I got
Yeah.
a freezer full of meat. Like, we're all right.
We're like figuring out like apocalyptic like
Yeah.
battle plans. Like, all right, if things go south, everyone just, meet up here. We'll be like this big group. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that put all my plans on hold. And at the time, my wife's pursuing marriage and family therapy. With that, she needed to intern. Well, there weren't any internship opportunities there because of COVID. But she was looking around and found out where she could do some internship in Lubbock, which was like a 5-hour drive away. So we're like, well, we got to do this. So we packed everything up, moved to Lubbock. And that's when I was like, well, okay, I guess I'm going to apply to some law enforcement agencies around here. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to, I'm tired of like having life, like put my cards in someone else's hand to see if they'll be played. Like, I'm going to put myself through. So I'm using my GI Bill to put myself through the academy, and I actually start in like 3 weeks.
Oh, cool.
I've got
congrats, dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. Got like all the steps done. Turns out I'm not crazy. I had to get evaluated.
Yeah, that's good.
I was like, yes. I think all I have left is like a turn your head and cough, and I'm in. So I'm like pretty stoked.
Sweet.
And I'm working for the same college that's putting on the academy. I'm working for them as like head of security at one of their campuses.
Okay.
So like they're totally understanding. So I'll be able to like do all my studying at work and then go to my academy in the evenings. Like, it's perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. And then since we've been in Lubbock, I found out one of my soldiers when I was in Korea, like he wasn't a fellow soldier. Like he wasn't I was a sergeant. This was like one of my soldiers. I found out he had got out of the military and he took his own life this last May. And I was like, man, I just feel like you almost can't get away from this happening, And I went down to his funeral, just like blown away that that there's not more I was shocked that it was him, first of all, because he wasn't the type of guy. He never put off any like red flags or anything. He was like super charismatic, super happy dude. Really social guy. I don't know. He just didn't fit like the typical norm.
That's who my dad was too.
Right.
I mean, everyone knew, even to today, people will be like, hey man, how's your dad doing?
Yeah.
Cause like he was everyone's best friend.
Yeah.
We had our own issues inside the home, but outside the home, he was the UPS driver, joked with everyone. Everyone had, just a good dude.
Yeah.
But it always seems like you're Robin Williams, right? And those types, it's like these people that are, well, it's like they're putting this out there and battling all this own stuff inside.
Yeah.
But they have like this shield of layers to block. Well, it's like we were talking about. I don't know if you listened to Cassandra's podcast, but she kind of went over this. And it's like these layers and layers of defense mechanisms in front of what's really going on with the pain inside.
Yes.
And I mean, not everybody that has problems with suicide is that way, but it seems like that's a common thing inside of both instances.
Mm-hmm. And it's another eye opener to me. Like, it's not who you think fits the norm for that.
Exactly.
It's like, could be anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. So, with the veteran suicide, I was there for a while. Again, I was like, this 22 a day veteran suicide. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of soldiers. And now it's like, okay, he's like number 3. Mm-hmm. Like, this is crazy.
And so you're probably going to be mixed into it most of your life just because of those shoes you walked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So crazy experiences, man. But I'm super happy because like, as crazy as it's all been, it's not that crazy right now. Like, stability wise, like, I don't know what it is about being in Lubbock with our my marital position's amazing. And like I said, I've smoked for like 11 or 12 years. I just quit. I've been cigarette free for a little over 2 months now.
Congratulations.
I tried to quit like 20 times, and I got like a couple days, maybe a week. And just something about being there, the place I'm at in life, I was able to just be like chill enough to just let it go, and it's not an issue. It's been cool.
So you think it's like that fix isn't there because you're living it every day? It's like the calmness is already there.
I felt, and I think a lot of it probably meant like it was like it was a stress relief. It was the pressure release on stresses in the life. Like, oh, I'm stressed out. This thing's going on. I need to go smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, I don't have a lifestyle that's bringing me up to that point for me to need it. You know,
that makes sense.
And I never really looked at it that way. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I'm not on the patch or anything. Nothing crazy's been going on that way. It's just, this is my life. It's chill. I started getting back into my artwork again.
Good.
I haven't really touched it. You know, I think when we were on quarantine precautions back in like November, I whipped out the paints and I was painting for a while. But other than that, I haven't really been in the artwork. And lately, been doing a lot more artwork. I'm wanting to get into like some actual sculptures. I'm probably going to have to send you guys some sculptures or artwork or something to put in here. That'd be cool.
Dude, do it. That'd be really cool.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. We like, new addition. We just got this TV put up.
Right.
And so we could put some, scroll some stuff on there. We could have something to hang on the wall.
Yes.
The sign behind you usually just gets rotated out every now and then.
That's cool.
And so it would be cool to have something like that.
That would be awesome. It looks really good in here. I like this.
It's a cool setup, huh?
It is. And it feels chill.
Yeah.
I feel like I forgot we're on a podcast for a while. I feel like we're just.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, it's super intimidating until we sit down. I mean, I get nervous too right at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like then we just start going, and that's why we don't have cue cards. That's why we don't have all this stuff. It's like, what's up, man?
Yeah.
How things going?
Dude, things have been crazy.
Tell me about the military.
Right?
Boom, and we just rattle off.
And like you had one of the first guys. Was it
Marine?
Soup Campbell?
Yeah. Tyler Campbell.
I don't know the dude, but like on the podcast, I was like, dude, I could totally sit down and totally relate with this. Like everyone you've had on, I'm like,
I could do that.
How come I don't know this person better? I need to be involved in their life, you know? Like,
I've like my really, really close friends that I talk to daily. It's been like that because I've had a few people on that we went to school with. And they would be like, dude, I never knew that about him. And I'm like, I know, man, it's cool. Like everyone, like there's probably something that they didn't know about you either.
Right.
Like we need to get you on here and
I
talk.
probably look a lot different too. Cause I mean, I put on like 150 pounds since high school, you know, but like Danny, I remember Danny.
Yeah.
But I was, again, never close to him. And I'm like, oh, dude, Danny's on here. It was like an opportunity to like, and Facebook, I feel like there's only so much you're going to see.
Yeah.
People only display so much on
Well, it's like
media.
your motorcycle accident. I remember seeing it and your wife posting about it. And so I kind of followed it. So I get what you're saying. It's like you and I, this is going to be the longest conversation we've ever had.
Yes.
But
it's so chill. And it's a lot of it has to do with you, but also like Mallory did awesome, like the vibe set up in here.
Yep.
It's not intimidating. It's relaxing. It's good. I like it.
Good.
And I'm excited to see who else you have on here because every time I'm like, all right, I know I'm gonna know this person or I'm gonna eventually meet this person, you know?
Well, it's been cool because everyone that's come on's had some niche or some story to bring up. And that's really the down home, thing of this is like, we're just all people.
Yeah.
We're all people just making it work, trying to figure it out. I've far from figured it out. You from far from figured it out. We're all still learning.
Yes.
And if anybody can pull a little bit from what you've been through or what I've been through or Danny or anyone else, like that's what makes all this worth it to me.
Yes.
And that's what makes it fun for me to come on and do this. But I'm also a very social person and I talk a lot. And so I'm like, maybe I could podcast because I talk a lot.
Yeah. It's good though.
It's fun.
I feel like it makes you realize just how relatable people could be.
Exactly. We're all so much closer than we think we are.
And I'm like, another thing I was thinking like, man, maybe if there's someone out there listening, maybe if they think about suicide the way I used to, it could be like a seed for them to be like, maybe I should change how I think about that, you know?
Well, and it's not real to people until it's real.
Yeah. And then when it is real, it sucks.
Yeah, it does.
So
I'm curious about the biker stuff. Can we go a little more into that, or
sure,
maybe some stories on it,
so,
or what you got? Are you still a part of it? Are you still doing it?
So it's been crazy.
Okay.
I relinquished my presidency when we left El Paso because, I mean, I can't be in Lubbock
Sure.
and the president of a chapter in El Paso. Like, that doesn't work that way. So relinquished it, went to Lubbock, and the goal was to like set up a chapter in Lubbock.
Okay.
But with everything going on in our life, is like, dude, I can't give that part of my life right now. So I actually got into TikTok. My wife was like, you should get into TikTok. She'd show me the funny things on TikTok. And I was like, that's funny, but I'm not going to get TikTok.
Well, you could be like their poster child on TikTok, bro. Look at you. If you're listening to the audio of this, you need to get on the YouTube
Right.
and then follow this guy on TikTok. What's your TikTok handle?
So,
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, it's GOC underscore, I think it's, underscore roadblock, because roadblock is my road name.
Okay.
So like if I've got my vest on and I'm on my back, it's roadblock.
Roadblock.
You know, and the kids
like
came
it.
up with that name because I'm a big dude.
Sure.
So like, and
How
everyone
tall
else,
are you?
I'm 6'4" on a good day. So like, I figured it out. Sunday mornings. That's when
where
the
you're
tallest.
at, huh?
Yeah. Measure your height Sunday mornings, because all week, you know,
You just
you're
get beat
doing
up.
stuff. You're gonna shrink a little.
That makes
And then
sense.
You have all Saturday to relax, and then Sunday morning, yeah, that's when you're the tallest.
I've when I was working the post office and I was just beating the crap out of my back.
Yeah.
And I've got 3 discs that are gone.
Oh.
And so when I would leave in the mornings and I'd have to readjust my rear view. And then I'd go work for 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
And when I'd get back in my truck, I had to readjust, like just in that amount of time being beat up, I would have to readjust my rear view
Dude,
again.
that's not good.
And I told my wife, I was like, because she's in orthopedics, and I
Yeah.
was like, this can't be normal, right? And she's like, no. And that's when, and I was having a lot of pain, but we went and got it
A little
imaged.
pain,
And I mean, so I don't work at the post office anymore because of that. But I remember that thinking like, I'm shorter right now. Like I have to move my rear view down.
Well, for anyone else out there wanting to feel good about their height,
Yeah.
measure your height Sunday morning.
Well, I was 6'1" in high school, and I won't measure myself again because I'm sure I've shrunk.
We'll just leave it at that.
I'm 6'1".
Leave it at that.
Well, when I walked in the door and you had beat me here today, when I walked up to you, I was like, man, he's taller than I remember him. But I'm like, maybe I'm just shorter.
Though my favorite is guess my weight.
You want me right now?
Yeah, well, how much do you think I weigh?
300.
See, I'm 350.
350?
Yeah.
You don't look 350.
I'm like, you're off by 50 pounds. But like, I am trying to lose some weight. I would like to be like 275, 280. I'd be my happy
Well,
place.
you were fairly lean in high school,
I was.
if I remember.
I mean, in
right.
wrestling, I was running like 3 miles a day.
Yeah.
And then we'd run around the track with the sections of telephone pole, and I was like 210 pounds. And I was eating whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys on the wrestling team, they're cutting weight. I was wrestling 215. I could have probably sucked down, like lost weight, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to eat whatever I wanted, drink all the fluids, and still be like 5 pounds under.
I mean, you were like 3 or 4 inches taller than me, and we were the same weight in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sorry, got totally distracted from the biker stuff. But yeah, my road name is Roadblock.
Back to that.
So we don't just help, there's certain things that have to have happened for us to help a kid. Number one, they have to want our help.
Okay.
Because
so did they reach out to you? Does a parent reach out to you?
Rarely it's the kid.
Okay.
We usually build relationships with community partners like CASA, foster parent organizations, the advocacy agencies within the court system.
Okay.
So as parents or families that are going through the system legally, fighting whatever happened or pressing charges, a lot of those agencies that would have exposure to the families, they're the ones that push our brochure their way. I'm like, hey, you guys would be a good fit for these guys. These guys could help you. And so we would come in, do like an evaluation, see if the parents or legal guardians would be interested, if they felt like we could be a good fit with them. Because, some kids, they're brought up their whole life being told bikers are bad people.
Sure.
And so maybe the kids have a stereotype against it. Us being bikers in general wouldn't be a good fit. Or sometimes the kids are, they're open enough, they're interested, and yeah, we want their help. And so what that help looks like, I mean, talking about abused kids, sometimes, when you're in a court situation and these kids have to testify against their abuser, some courts won't even let the family members be in the room because they know there's going to be an emotional outburst.
Sure.
So imagine, me as an adult, I don't want to be in a courtroom. That's an intimidating place. And then you're talking about the deepest, darkest thing that happened to you. And now your family can't even be in there. So like, we are close to the kids like an extended family, so that when we're in the courtroom, they can look around and see familiar faces, supportive familiar faces.
Yeah. So say your support system.
Yeah. And they know that we have their back,
Yeah.
And that
it's like nothing's going to pop off because we're all here too.
Yes. And that gives them the courage to, I will testify, and they'll open up about it in court. And that usually seals the deal on getting the abusers put away forever. Yeah. I think it's like a 90, last I remember looking into it, it was like a 90-something% conviction rate when we're involved because of the support we give them. They testify, so it's done.
That's amazing.
Because, if we weren't there, then, and the kids know there's no family support or anything there, and a lot of them are like, no, I don't want to testify.
I don't want to do this anymore.
And so
that's intimidating.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Like if I have to go to court, I'm going to call you, hey man, can you come support me?
I'll be like, I'm there, roadblock.
Right? And so we help them with that, but we help so much more than just court. A lot of people think, oh, well, you just support with court, but it's not just court. Think about it. If a kid's abused, if their abuser gets put away, it doesn't just end right there. Yeah. They're dealing with that the rest of their life.
Sure.
So we support them until they're 18. And you look at it like, well, how would an aunt or uncle support? Like basketball games, we're there. You're going to go to a volleyball tournament, we're there. We've escorted kids to quinceañeras, we throw Christmas parties for them. Some of the kids are in foster care and stuff. Maybe they don't have, they don't have a Christmas thing lined up. Some of these families can't afford Christmas or something. And this isn't for every chapter everywhere. This was just specifically what we did in El Paso. Because, there's over 50 chapters across 20 states and several up into Canada. So it's international.
Okay.
And
this all started
in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Yes. But generally speaking, everything I'm talking about is generally how it happens in all the chapters, depending on how far along they are and developing, how big they are. The more members you have, the more ability you're going to have to do more events.
Spread
but if they're
people
just
out.
if they're just starting out, I can't say that's what they do. And then, there's a chapter somewhere.
In Michigan,
we don't
he's
do
like,
that.
no, dude, we don't have the ability.
Right.
So who funds this? How's this whole thing funded?
It's all nonprofit. So everything, we'll hold events for like a biker rally. And we'll go to different stores like Walmart or Harbor Freight or whatever and just be like, hey, this is what we do. It's a tax write-off to y'all. Could you guys donate something to us? So we'll be like, sure, a tool chest. And we'll take the tool chest and we'll have a biker rally. And so all the bikers will show up and they'll go, to a couple different points, and we'll meet up at the last stop. There's music and food, which is all donated. And then we'll like raffle off or auction off these items, and they'll be like, could start for $20, make $500-$600 off of it. And so it's like, almost solely comes from the motorcycle community.
Okay, so are other people invited to the rallies? Is it just the group?
It's usually just the group.
Okay.
But there are some
I'm just trying to think about how I can be a part of it.
Right.
That's where I'm going with it.
I know there is Baca here.
Yeah.
So
I've had a few buddies in that.
And I'm all about, for anyone out there listening, like I'm all about Baca too. I love GOC. It's near and dear to me. But I know Baca does, like what they stand for, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say to not support them. Like I'm all about it too. But yeah, if you were to even just Google Guardians of the Children or Baca International org, I'm not sure what, a quick Google search, you could find them. You could find who's here and make donations to them. So
they just have a donation that you can just put a credit
donation.
card number in and whatever.
Or find out like, hey, do you have like a Christmas event? Like, because most of them do. And it's like, yeah, we were actually trying to get we've got 20 kids and we're trying to get people to sponsor one of these kids. You want to sponsor a kid? I'm like, yeah. So it's like $200 towards this kid's Christmas or something. So there's like so many different ways you could help.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a biker to be involved. In fact, a lot of the support membership they don't even ride, you know. You don't. One of the requirements to be a patched member for us is you have to ride, or at least have access to a seat.
Do you have to ride a cruiser?
No.
I mean, I've got a naked bike. Like I've got a
Kawasaki
like 900. No, it's like a more proper bullet bike.
Yeah, you could join. You could ride that. There's no requirements. It's not like you have to ride Harleys.
If it's not a Harley, get out of here.
I ride a Yamaha.
Okay.
I'm on a Yamaha now. Like the Kawasaki got wrecked. I got a Yamaha. I got like a 2003 Yamaha Roadstar 1700. We've got guys on bullet bikes, Harleys. Like it doesn't matter as long as it's street legal.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is, can it keep up? Like I wouldn't recommend getting like a moped.
250 something. Yeah.
Like you want to keep up with the pack if we're going on a run or hey, we're going to go to these kids' house to support them or drive by and drop off candy or something. Like we're going to stay as a pack. So you want to be able to like keep up with the pack.
Well, because I've seen social media stuff with, I think it's Baca, but I'm not sure. Is Baca bigger? Are they like nationwide? And anyway, regardless,
I know they were the first in terms of child advocacy biker groups.
Okay.
So with them being first, there are probably going to be more chapters and more spread out.
Well, I think it was a kid I could be 100% wrong.
You're good.
But I think it was a kid, his dad had died and he was either military or police, and they were like escorting the kid to school. And I was like, dude, that's cool, man. Like I would go do that.
Yeah.
Like even just jump in and just go ride, just show the support.
We also are big in like anti-bullying. So maybe the kid isn't necessarily being abused, but he's dealing with like hardcore bully problems at school.
Which is probably a lot of kids now versus when we were kids.
And we'll actually go.
We had like one bully in school. One, if that.
Did we have a bully?
We had one. I won't blast him on here because we're buddies now.
Yeah, okay.
I'll tell you after.
I mean, I don't remember getting bullied, and I don't really remember witnessing.
Sure. Well, in high school, no. But when I first moved here in second grade, I got a little bit of it, yeah.
Really? I did get bullied a little in elementary school.
I wonder if it's the same. We'll have to talk after.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, that's interesting. I forget about that, but yeah, I mean, we've escorted kids to school, depending on the school, because some schools are like, bikers want to come talk here. No, like that's. Yeah. Are they like a biker gang? Sons of Anarchy? Like no, we're a club. Our membership's filled of like teachers, nurses.
Yeah, we're not bringing in guns and drugs.
No, like we're chill. Like it's for the kids, you know. And there's been a lot of schools that have opened their doors to us and let us go talk to faculty, like when there's like parent-teacher conference season or something, or the school itself will be holding an event. They'll let us come set up a table and talk to not just the kids, but the parents.
That's cool.
And the faculty, being able to explain to them like some red flags of kids being bullied, because some of the faculty doesn't even know necessarily, or the fact that a lot of the kids that are bullies in school, are actually bullies because they're actually being abused at home.
That's what I was just going to say.
You know, and it's like
coming from somewhere.
Hey, instead of just like, oh, bully's bad, like let's dig deeper. What's the root of the problem? How can we fix that? You know? And so that's been huge. I like that. It's like trying to get rid of most bullies or people that have been bullied. There's a high statistical chance that they're going to become abusers when they're older. Yeah. So it's a revolving door. So we're trying to put our foot in and stop that.
Sure.
But yeah, I moved from El Paso to Lubbock. There wasn't a chapter. So I was sitting stagnant for a while. TikTok came up. I was getting tired of looking at my wife's phone to see all the funny videos. So I downloaded it.
I don't have it, but I get it sent to me all the time.
I guarantee you'll probably have it soon. It's so much easier to save the videos you want to watch. I didn't really know anything about it, but I downloaded it. And then after like a week or two, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a video, something biker, Guardians of the Children related. The first video I made took off. It was like 1 point some million views.
Good
and I
night.
was like overnight, woke up with like 70,000 followers, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's bananas.
Like, I'm used to, because my wife's TikTok had like 12 people that followed her. Most of it was family, you know, and I'm seeing other people's content on there, and I'm looking at their following, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine having more than like 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
And off my first video, I had like, it was a ridiculous amount. I think I'm now up to around like 350,000 followers. And I'm just like
how I understand it is, it's, I guess what I see, and this is probably wrong, is like people just doing weird dances.
Right.
But it's more than that, right?
It is like there's these whole different genres. It's great. Like if you're into welding, there's like a whole side of TikTok that's just for welding.
Okay.
And so like you'll be scrolling through the videos, and TikTok's got this weird algorithm thing, but it'll basically show you videos that are similar to what you like or comment or share or save on.
Okay.
So if you like hunting videos,
So you're like building your own library.
yeah, it's like your own feed.
Sure.
Like and it's kind of, it's like, I don't know how to explain it.
Well, it's like Instagram has Reels, and it's kind of the same thing.
Kind
right?
of. But this is like also kind of like YouTube in a sense, where it like gives you like related stuff.
So we need a Derick Leg podcast TikTok.
Yes.
All right, Mallory, get
we
on
need
that.
to do that.
Mallory's
and
like, I don't need more to do.
If I could get my hand on some of these clips, I could probably throw, because they're only like 3 minutes long.
Well, Mallory can send you whatever you want.
That'd be cool.
And
I could totally blast this. And then all my followers could find out what my real name is, because none of them know.
We can bleep it out.
Yeah.
We can be like, we're here to welcome Roadblock.
Yeah. But at first I was like super nervous, like, whoa, I have to like think about all the content I'm going to put out, what kind of message it's sending. Yep. And it was all biker related, Guardians of the Children, answering questions. What do we do? Are we Baka? No, we're not Baka. You know, can only men join? No, women can join too. Like, and then there's like, it would get real political. Just ignore those comments altogether. And there'd always be like trolls, you know, like, you got bullied in high school or something like that.
You're like, sure, dude, I was 6'4" and a wrestler.
And you know, it's always the people with no content that are the ones trolling you. But
yeah. You're like, why don't you go to your two friends?
Yeah. It's okay, dude. But I kind of started to relax more and like do some funny stuff. Like I'll be lip syncing Backstreet Boys, you know, talking about some dude trying to make fun of me or something. I don't know. It kind of just has to be in the moment, I guess.
One more time. What is it again? How to get on to see yours?
It's GOC_roadblock.
Okay, GOC.
GOC, yeah. For Guardians of the Children.
Sure, okay.
And then I had recently made a video about me not having a back patch anymore, because I turned it in because I'm not putting in the monthly requirements to actually be a full patch member.
Sure.
And I felt like and no one came to me and like, you have to turn it in. It was like, because I mean, a lot of the members at the higher level, the national, international level, like they know, like I'm spreading good news, so to speak, on that. I think we had helped get around 6 dozen kids like resources through our organization, through my TikTok. And about twice as many membership nationally has joined because of my TikTok. Like, I know it's doing good things.
Yeah.
But I just felt like that wasn't enough for me to keep the patch, you know? Like, there's requirements for people to have the patch. And I knew that I wasn't fulfilling those requirements. I didn't feel right about it, so I turned my patch in.
Like, would have anyone come to you and said, hey, turn that in? Probably not.
No, they probably never would have. But I
that's
knew,
how it's real to you.
Yeah, it's how it's real to me, and I didn't want to like water that down.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it was also to show a lot of the following that like, look, you can still be an advocate for those, and you don't have to be a full patch member.
Yeah.
You can be a supporter. Like, I'm a supporter now. My wife's a supporter, still advocating for kids. People message me. I'm still trying to send them the right direction, any questions they want, and I answer every direct message I get. I don't know how. I've stayed up a lot.
Well, after the podcast, you're going to have so many more.
Right.
I don't know if I would be.
And I'm really, I mean, I felt like I had to.
Yeah.
Because if there's some kid out there or some family member that's like, hey, I need, y'all's help. Like, I don't want to be the reason they didn't get help because I didn't respond to their message, you know? So I really tried to stay.
I mean, you're still shouldering a lot of it without the badge.
I mean, a lot of the messaging and stuff has really cut down. A lot of it's slowed down because, number one, I haven't been posting a lot on there, and everyone kind of knows that I'm taking a step away a little bit, and I've dropped some hints that I'm going into law enforcement.
Sure.
And so I know a lot of motorcycle community guys are on there, and I don't know, maybe they don't want to follow me because I'm going into law enforcement, and generally those two communities don't get along well, you know? So I don't know, maybe there's something with that. I don't really care, though. At the end of the day, it's my TikTok.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I'm going to do it. So
that's why it says roadblock at the end and not just you representing the club.
Yes. And so...
Do you think you'll start another one where you're at? No plans to yet?
If I do, it'll probably be after Academy because I know that's going to be pretty...
I mean, yeah, that's what I thought. In the future.
Strenuous. Future, probably. And if I don't directly start one, I'll definitely be involved in another chapter standing up for sure.
Got you.
Or if Baca, I've heard there was a Baca chapter there in Lubbock, but I've also heard they basically don't exist. So if anyone's out there watching,
that's what I was going to say. Message roadblock.
Message me. Here. We can sit down, have a chat. I'm actually looking at joining CVMA. It's a Combat Vets Motorcycle Association. It's also a 501c3 nonprofit. But it's instead of child abuse advocacy, it'd be more like vets helping vets, you know. Again, pushing like the suicide awareness stuff or just literally going and helping other vets, which I think is really cool too. So I don't know. I'm kind of...
Well, shit, man. It's like, it doesn't seem like a whole lot of other people are helping them.
Right.
You know, it bugs the hell out of me.
And I see like, I don't know what, I feel like there's something missing, but I don't know what that is or how to change it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping just stuff like this, people being able to like bring it to like a real level for people, you know, and having real conversations about it.
Right.
Because I feel like there's like, maybe there's these guys that get in these groups, because I know how it was in the military, and it's like, oh, such and such is a beep beep, you know, if you're going to do that, you know, it's like, no, man, straight up.
Yeah.
You can't think that way about people that are talking about this. You got to ask them straight up. You got to be there for them.
Sure.
And I feel like those conversations have to be happening more. Personally, this is just me. Yeah. I feel like those conversations.
I agree. 100% agree.
Yeah.
That's what you were saying. 22. Is that what it is?
22 a day.
22 a day, like, makes me sick.
Yeah.
And to think that there's all this aid going out to, I mean, I don't want to get political and everything, but all this aid going out to all these things, and we got 22 a day.
Yeah. And what's crazy is we have so many veteran resources, and I don't know, maybe there's just not enough publicity about them, or people aren't capitalizing on it. If they I don't know. I'm wanting to get more involved though, and figure it out. How can
I'm sure you will.
Vets. I will, for sure. But yeah, man.
What do you think? Got anything else you want to talk about?
I could go on and on and on and on.
Well, I think we can wrap it up if you want.
Yeah, we're good. We can wrap it up.
Okay.
I've talked long enough.
Oh, no, I really appreciate you coming. I think you shed a light on the biker club. It's called a club. I learned that.
It's not a club.
What is it?
It's a nonprofit motorcycle organization.
Okay.
We can't call it a
club.
I
called it a group earlier because I didn't know what to call
works.
it. Oh, okay. So I was right.
Group or organization, but
all
club, that's like a special... It's a special thing. We're not that.
There's like a whole nother world out there.
Dude, it's a whole nother world. I'm telling you.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, because I've got a little crotch rocket, dude. I might go ride
you should
around
get involved.
with something.
The motorcycle community is honestly...
Well, I've got 3 buddies in my mind right now that are part of Baca here.
They are.
And I don't know how active they are, but they've been a part of it at some point in time.
That is cool. I highly recommend you get involved.
Well, do you know Nate Vasquez?
That sounds super familiar.
So he was a year under us in school.
Yeah.
But he was part of it, or is part of it. I'm not sure if he's still active or not, but he'll probably watch this because he's messaged me a couple times about the podcast. So
that's cool.
I think we're gonna have him on at some point.
That's cool.
I don't know if he knows that, but we're gonna bring him on.
He doesn't know yet.
He's one I've had in the back of my mind that like, all right, I'm gonna hit him up, but I don't think he's in St. George. Nate, if I'm wrong, correct me. I know he's back and forth. He's driving truck, doing stuff like that.
Busy.
So yeah. All
That'd
right.
be cool.
Well, thanks again. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming all the way from Texas just to sit down with us. And
thanks for having me. This is awesome.
No, yeah, good luck with your daughter and your daughters and
thank you so much.
Everything you're doing, man. I think it's great.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for sitting down with us and listening or watching or however you're viewing this. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, rate, all of that stuff. We're still building at a good pace. And I know having Kade on here is going to jump our numbers with his TikTok. So have a good week, you guys, and we'll be back on here next week. We do have some good. Kade was one of them. Our last podcast with Lexi was another one. We've got a lot of heavy hitters coming up, so make sure you watch. The subscribe thing's cool because it tells you when the next one gets uploaded, and we'll be back next week with another podcast.